Welcome to part 2 of the Documenting Sources in MLA 8 presentation. Again, if you have questions, please email me at the email address provided. Also keep in mind that this material that I'm presenting largely comes from the MLA 8 guide and the Purdue OWL website, the MLA 8th edition What's New and Different page, as well as the MLA Formatting and Style Guide page. Part 2, Principles of Documentation in MLA 8. Every source has the following 9 pieces of information: an author, a source with a title, a container for that source, sometimes there's a container within a container, a version, a number, a publisher, a publication date, and a location. Now, all 4 of these categories of who, what, when, and where that we talked about in the first part of our video come to play here. Keep in mind, when we're talking about a container, we're talking about something like, well, for instance, a TV show that fits in an episode that fits within the TV show name itself. So an episode of Star Trek could fit within the container of Star Trek. And Netflix would be a greater container because it is the service that is used to watch that TV show and then the episode of Star Trek. We'll get into that distinction a little more clearly in just a few moments. Keep in mind that we're looking at the 4 categories again of who, what, when, and where for each of these 9 pieces of information. The author. Author information in MLA should be listed in a works cited page like this, with the last name, comma, and the first name. Or in some cases you'll have a middle initial with a period at the end, regardless. Sources. A chapter, an article, content from a book can be a source in our context here. A source can be a web page, a periodical article, a song, a poem, an online video, again a TV show episode, anything small that would fit into something else. The title of each contained source is then provided in quotation marks, and that will be different from what appears as our container, which could be a book, a website, a periodical such as a journal, a magazine, a newspaper, etc., an album for songs, a TV series for episodes, etc. A container name is put in italics. If the container sits within another container, like Netflix or YouTube, we would cite the name of the container and the URL of the container. And finally, we would include information for version, number, publisher, publication date, and location. Let's look at some examples. We'll look at a web page and a website, a song on an album, an episode in an online TV show, and a YouTube clip on YouTube. For instance, here is an example web page and a website. This is a poem found online. It's basically just a random poem found on a random website. Recall the difference between MLA 8 and 7 with respect to URLs. MLA 8 always requires us to put the URL for the source that we have online, whereas back in version 7 it was optional. This is the poem Watching Father Carve the Duck by Ernest Vincent Wright. Here's the pattern we've got. We have the author, the source, the container of that source, and the location. Notice that we have commas separating the container and the location, as well as we have the previous information of the author and the source with periods. Here's an example song on an album. And yes, this does take me back a while. Metallica, Until It Sleeps, Load, Elektra, 1996. Here we have the band as author, which, by the way, feel free if you're citing the Beatles, you could put here, for instance, individual authors. You could put McCartney, you could put John Lennon, etc. Depending upon the context in which you're writing, you could specify the band or the writers. So we have the band as author, the album as source, the music label, and the year of publication. Here's an example episode of the aforementioned online TV show. This is my favorite episode, Janestown, of the TV show Firefly. Season 1, since there was only one season. Episode 7, the Fox Network, broadcast on the 18th of October 2002, on the service of Netflix, the container for Firefly, and finally the URL. And all of the fields after the title here are separated by commas. We have the source, TV series, season, episode, network date of broadcast, online service used, and URL. Here's an example YouTube clip. The author is Exoparadigm Gamer. Note here an author can be the name of the user account of the person who hosts the video on YouTube here. ROR Donkey Kong Country SNES versus GBA, the 5th of June 2015, YouTube, and then URL. This is the pattern of author, source, date of publication, video service, and URL. Here are the exercises we spoke about. Feel free to pause the video at this point so that you can discuss, write down, and basically think about the questions that are here provided for your consideration. In the section coming from MLA 7 to MLA 8, question 1. What information do we delete from a book entry in its conversion to an MLA 8 Works Cited page? Answer. We delete the where, the city of publication, and we delete the type of source, print or web. Question 2. What information do we add to a journal article entry in its conversion to an MLA 8 Works Cited page? Answer. We add volume and number labels. We also punctuate each of the fields with commas. We also put PP before page ranges. Question 3. Convert the following MLA 7 book entry into an MLA 8 entry. What would you change? Answer. We delete the city of publication and the type of source. Notice that these are missing now in the MLA 8 version of the book entry. Question 4. Convert the following MLA 7 journal article entry into an MLA 8 entry. What would we change? Again, notice that we have deleted the type of source. We've also added commas for field separators. We've added volume and number labels. We've taken away the parentheses for the year. And we've also added PP as a label for the page range. Let's shift gears now to discuss principles of documentation in MLA 8 from the second part of our video. What are the 4 journalism questions, again, that we ask about a source when creating an MLA 8 Works Cited entry from scratch? Answer. Who, what, when, and where. And this, of course, turns into our 9 pieces of information that we provide for documentation. Question 2. Well, this is more of a directive or an invitation. On your own, create a Works Cited entry for each of the following 4 types of source that was discussed. For a web page on a website, for a song on an album, for an episode of an online TV show, for a YouTube clip. Thank you so much for your attention. If you have more questions about this topic, please feel free to send me an email at the email address provided in this presentation. Also keep in mind that I used sources from the MLA 8 guidebook as well as the Purdue OWL website. These are handy and relevant and very informative sources that you should consider using.